This one reminds me of someone. I know, Mr. Curry.
Bear,
Ah! It even sounds like him.
come over here, Bear.
Oh, it is you, Mr. Curry.
I've caught a nasty cold in my nose.
A cold in your doze?
Not my doze, my nose.
Oh, you mean your nose?
And if that isn't enough, my system is frozen.
Your system's frozen, Mr. Curry. Oh, dear. I better get Mrs. Bird to send for Dr. McAndrew.
I don't want a doctor, Bear. I want Mr. James, the plumber. It's my water pipes that are frozen solid, not my insides.
Oh.
Here! Give him my front door key and tell him it's an emergency. He can let himself in. And tell him not to make too much noise. I shall probably be in bed asleep. And no hanging about on the way. If you're quick, I may even give you 10 pence.
If I had all the 10 pences Mr. Curry's promised me over the years, I'd be rich.
Curry? I know him and his little jobs. He still hasn't paid me for the last one I did, and that was 6 months ago.
It's nice to know I'm not the only one.
Tell him from me that before I do any more little jobs for him, I want to see the colour of his money.
Oh, I expect he would show it to you, Mr. James, only he may be asleep.
That wouldn't surprise me.
He's got a cold, you see, and...
Well, OK. I'll lend Mr. Curry these. A blow lamp and a do-it-yourself book on plumbing.
It's very kind of you, Mr. James, but...
Tell him I'm all booked up, so it's take it or leave it.
Knowing Mr. Curry, I think he would rather I'd left it. On the other hand, I knew he wouldn't be best pleased if he woke up and found his pipes were still frozen. The Plumber's Mate by Bert Stilson. Everything the amateur plumber needs to know.
It sounds as if Mr. Curry is having trouble with his plumbing.
I wouldn't want to be the unlucky person who has to fix those old pipes. Whoa!
Mr. James! Can't you hit those pipes quietly? Quiet!
Everything's coming along fine, Mr. Curry.
One of the best methods of thawing a frozen pipe is pouring boiling water over rags wrapped around it. If the pipes are frozen, where am I supposed to get the water to boil? What's that funny smell?
Mr. James, what's that funny smell?
Oops. Things are just heating up in here, Mr. Curry.
It's funny that Mr. Stilson does his plumbing in warm weather when pipes would never freeze. Heating the pipe is another effective method. Fancy leaving it until the last chapter to tell people that. Hooray!
What's going on in there?
I think the water's starting to flow.
Once the pipes are thawed, check for leaks. Checked. Tape wrapped tightly around a small leak will serve as a temporary repair.
Mr. James? How's the job coming along then, eh? Nearly finished. I'm dying for a nice hot bath.
Everything's just fine, Mr. Curry.
Well, I hope you're not charging me by the hour.
Nearly finished, Mr. Curry.
Good.
Likely trouble spots are... This must be where the water's frozen.
Ah, the water's running at last. Bear? Bear? Where's Mr. James? Where's all this water coming from, Bear?
Paddington, it's Mr. Curry to see you.
I just wanted to thank you, Bear. Here's your 10 pence and a box of cream buns as a bonus for a job well done.
Well done.
Yes, thanks to you, Bear, all the pipes in my bathroom are going to be repaired professionally. My insurance is paying for it because the pipes broke during the night.
You're lucky, Mr. Curry, that you didn't have a clause in your insurance policy saying you weren't covered for freezing pipes.
Yes, but in this case, it had nothing to do with a clause. It was paws that did it.
Oh!
And if ever I need another act of Bear, I'll know where to come.
Act of Bear? Well, I never.
Don't eat that. I was just reading about the recent sighting of the Yeti. The Yeti's been sighted. What is the Yeti, Mr. Gruber?
The Yeti, which is also called the abominable snowman, is a mythical creature, Mr. Brown. People claim it lives in the mountains of Tibet.
Is that why we're going there? To find the Yeti and include it in your book, The World and Its Wonders?
We're certainly going to include the story of the Yeti, but I don't hold out much hope of finding it. Like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, we are not certain the Yeti even exists. Tibet, however, is a land of infinite fascination. The Himalayas, Mr. Brown. That peak is the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. Sir Edmund Hillary was the first person to climb it.
Did he see the Yeti, Mr. Gruber?
I don't believe so, Mr. Brown. But here's a photograph that another explorer took. Judge for yourself.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. And welcome to you too, sir. My name is Ngapo.
Pleased to meet you.
The Yeti is half man, half bear. His kind have lived in the mountains for thousands of years. Although people fear him, it is said the Yeti has helped lost travelers find their way.
Have you seen the Yeti?
Seeing him is not important. We believe he exists.
I would be happy to lead you into the mountains. With luck, perhaps we shall see for ourselves.
Oh! We will make an early start in the morning.
To see the Yeti, you must keep your eyes and ears open. But most important, your heart.
Why don't you try that theory you read about, Mr. Brown? Of how the Yeti footprints may have been made by a bear.
How did it work again, Mr. Gruber?
If you place your hind paw partly over the imprint of your forepaw, you will create a footprint positioned in the opposite direction. And that resembles the Yeti footprint.
Oh. I don't think much of the footprint theory, Mr. Gruber. It must be hard if you're a Yeti to tell whether you're coming or going.
Quite right, Mr. Brown.
We should hurry while the weather is good. In the Himalayas, the weather can change at the drop of a hat.
Oh. I'm sorry I dropped my hat, Mr. Gruber. I didn't mean to make the weather change.
I believe that's simply a figure of speech, Mr. Brown. Where's Mr. Brown?
I'll find the young bear. You wait here for me.
Mr. Gruber? Ngapo! Ah, Mr. Gruber! Mr. Gruber!
Mr. Brown! Over here!
Mr. Gruber. Now both are lost. I must find them.
Even though Mr. Gruber was dressed warmly, it sounded as though he was getting a cold. Luckily, Mrs. Bird had given me some throat lozenges for the trip.
Here you are, Mr. Gruber. Have some lozenges for your sore throat. Mrs. Bird swears by them. Don't worry, they taste strong, but they do work.
Mr. Gruber! Mr. Brown!
We can use this cave as shelter and ride out the storm. How clever of you to lead us here, Mr. Brown.
But I was following you. Here, Mr. Gruber, have another lozenge.
Another? But I haven't had any yet.
I gave you one when I was following you.
I'm afraid high altitudes can make people lightheaded and confused, Mr. Brown.
My head feels the same weight as it did this morning.
We'd better rest. We'll have to try and find Nagapo in the morning. I do hope he's all right.
You must be hungry, Mr. Gruber. Here. Though I don't think I've got any bread. Why, Mr. Gruber, you were really hungry. Luckily, I had my emergency sandwich. It's a good job we're not staying in a hotel, Mr. Gruber. Your snoring would keep the other guests awake.
It's a good job we're not staying in a hotel, Mr. Brown. Your snoring would keep the other guests awake.
Your cold must have been bothering you during the night, Mr. Gruber. You were snoring very loudly.
I'm afraid you must have been the one snoring, Mr. Brown. I never snore.
I think perhaps you may be the one suffering from lightheadedness, Mr. Gruber. I never snore either.
What I'm suffering from at the moment is a light stomach. I'm very hungry.
I know. You ate a whole jar of marmalade during the night.
I what?
Mr. Brown? Mr. Gruber?
Ngapo, thank goodness you are all right. However did you find us?
Why, I followed Mr. Brown's fake Yeti footprints.
Now that's very clever, Mr. Brown. Getting up early to make fresh prints for Ngapo to find?
I didn't make any fresh prints.
But if you didn't, then... The Yeti!
I know we experienced some strange goings-on last night, but there must be some other explanation.
I don't suppose we shall ever know for certain. But it would be nice to think it was the Yeti who led us to the cave, Mr. Gruber.
Oh!
And if it was, I hope Mrs. Bird's lozenges help him get over that nasty cold. You know, Aunt Lucy, I wanted very much to be a guest on Lucky for Some. It's a television quiz show, and with Mr. Gruber's help, I finally got my chance.
Don't miss Lucky for Some coming next.
Hurry up, Paddington. Your favourite program's starting. Lucky for Some is right. I'm missing football on the other channel.
And now, it's Lucky for Some with your host, the one and only Ronnie Playfair.
Thank you. And welcome to Lucky for Some, the quiz show that's lucky for some, especially the jackpot winner.
Do we have to watch this?
It is Paddington's favourite programme, and he insisted that we watch it tonight.
Then where is he?
So let's meet our first contestant all the way from Windsor Gardens, Mr. Paddington Brown.
Are you sure you're right, Mr. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Playfair. This is your letter inviting me to be a contestant. I live at 32 Windsor Gardens, but I'm originally from darkest Peru.
Oh, well, we won't expect you to prove that, but we will expect the bare facts tonight. Yes, anyway, perhaps you'd like to step forward and send a message to anyone out there who knows you.
Maybe this program isn't such a load of rubbish after all.
If you ask me, television will never be the same again.
Hello, all at number 32. I hope I won't be late, Mrs. Bird. Mr. Gruber promised to bring me straight home and...
Hey, watch it! You must be more careful with your marks.
My marks? But I had a bath this morning, specially. Huh?
No, not dirt marks. I mean the ones you are supposed to stand on for the camera position.
But you asked me to step forward.
I said step forward, not go for a walk. Anyway, it's time to play the game, so come this way. Perhaps you need a box to stand on. That's better. Now for the rules. You have 5 seconds to answer each of the questions. You must answer them correctly to stay in the game, keep your winnings, and go on to try for the jackpot! Now, which category do you choose? History, geography, mathematics, or general knowledge?
Mathematics, please. Bears are good at sums.
Mathematics. Okay. Mathematics it is. I must warn you, this may be a trick question. How many buns make 5?
2.5.
I'm afraid that's incorrect. I did warn you it was a trick question. Oh.
Fancy getting the first one wrong.
That's not like him at all. He must have something up his sleeve.
What you should have answered was, it depends on whether you're buying or selling.
But I wasn't doing either. I share my buns with Mr. Gruber, so we have 2.5 each.
He's right. Young Mr. Brown and I share our 11s every morning.
Give him the money! Give him the money! Give him the money!
Very well then, here's your £5.
Thank you, Mr. Playfair. But do you think I could have a bun to be going on with? Answering questions makes you very hungry.
Oh. Now, do you want to go on? The questions get harder. Just one wrong answer and you lose all the money you've already won.
I'd like to go on, please.
Okay. This is a 2-part question. If you cut an 8-foot length of wood in half, then half again, and then those pieces in half, how many pieces would you have?
8.
Correct! Now, how long will each of the pieces be?
8 feet.
Oh, what a pity! The answer, of course, is 1 foot. I thought that was pretty obvious.
Not to a bear, it isn't. I cut mine the other way.
The other way? There is no other way.
If you like, I'll prove my point.
Prove your point! Prove your point! Prove your point!
Oh, this is absurd!
You see, if you have paws, it's much safer to cut it down the middle.
There's no need to count it. It's all there. Now, do you wish to answer the final question, which is worth £500?
Oh, yes, please, Mr. Playfair.
For £500. If it takes 2 men 20 minutes to fill a 50-gallon bath full of water using 1 tap, how long will it take 1 man to fill the same bath using both taps?
Why, no time at all.
I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Brown. The answer is exactly half the time.
Oh, I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Playfair.
Nonsense.
Prove your point! Prove your point!
Very well. Prove your point.
Would you read the question again, please?
If it takes 2 men 20 minutes to fill a 50-gallon bath using 1 tap, how long will it take 1 man to fill the same bath using both taps?
As I said, no time at all, because you didn't say the bath was emptied after it was filled the first time.
You win the jackpot!
The jackpot? You said I'd win £500.
The jackpot is £500!
Jackpot! Jackpot!
Just one more question. What will you do with all this money?
I think I'll keep a little bit as a souvenir and use some to buy Christmas presents. Then I'll give the rest to the Home for Retired Bears in Lima, Peru. I hope that you and the other bears can put the money to good use, Aunt Lucy. I've now found a much better program to watch. It's called Prove Your Point. And I hope I can do well on that, too.
Don't we all, Paddington? Don't we all?